Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nikki LaRose. The weather's warming up and I got super inspired to bring back a glowy skin look with a warm copper eye. If you're new to my channel, I'm a celebrity makeup artist based in Los Angeles, and if you love makeup tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. My skin's already prepped as usual, but I'll be finishing my skin prep by using a beauty oil. This one is from Elaluz. I'll be using 1 to 2 drops, and this is just gonna give me that really enhance that extra glow from within look underneath my foundation. So I'll be dropping a lot more than I said I was gonna drop into my hand. I'm just gonna rub it into my fingertips. I'm just gonna press it into my skin. I'm gonna lightly massage this underneath my eyes. And then whatever's left over, rub on the top of my hand. Moving on to foundation, I'll be using the new one from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Beautiful Skin Foundation. I'm using the color 7. I'm gonna take this on top of my hand. And to blend this on, I'll be using the KVD Beauty foundation brush. Or actually, this is a powder brush. This is the number 25 brush, but I use this for liquid foundations. Of course, it is also great for powder like it's originally intended for. So I just want my makeup to look like my face makeup to look more fresh and more just like I have like really fresh glowy skin, which is why I'm using this product versus like an actual foundation. I know this says it's a foundation, but this does give you more of like a skin tint finish rather than like a foundation finish. It's a pretty light to medium coverage. I am gonna build it up, especially like around my nose where I have more redness. To start my eye makeup look, I'll be using the Eyeshadow Pencil. This is in the color Contour Beige from Chanel. And this is a really nice, it's kind of like a base pencil. Like it's a big pencil where you can use it either as eyeliner or you can use it all over your eyelid and really blend it out and use it as an eyeshadow base, which is kind of what I'm gonna be doing right now. So I'm just gonna create an overall shape that I want, and then I'm gonna take a small flat brush. This one's from MAC, it's a 239 brush. And I'll be using this just to lightly blend out that eye pencil. Okay, so now I have my eyeliner lightly blended out. I haven't blended out completely because I'm gonna go over it with an eyeshadow next. Next, I'll be taking the Huda Beauty Toffee Brown palette, and I'll be first dipping into this top color right here. Switching over to a MAC 217 brush, I'm gonna take a little bit of that medium brown shade. And just start to layer it on top of that Chanel pencil. Just using really light pressure just to really softly blend those two colors together. Then next I'll be dipping into this darker brown in the same palette and switching my brush to a 230 Luxe pencil brush from JOUER. I'm just gonna use this color to start creating more depth along my top lash line. And then just lightly blending with that pencil brush along my top lash line. Next, I'll be grabbing a really dark brown eye pencil. This one's from OneSize Beauty. It's in Busty Brown. And just taking this really tightly along my top lash line just to create more depth. And then going back to my pencil brush to smudge it out. And then tight lining the inner corner of my eye. Switching back over to my 217 brush and that original medium brown color in the palette. Going back to my Chanel pencil one more time. And the reason why I'm doing this too is because I'm trying to bring that depth back into the crease of my eye. Before I finish up this eye, I'm going to start on this eye next. And then grabbing a clean 239 brush from MAC, I'll be using this wet to add a shimmer on top of my eyelid. And I'll be wetting my brush first with the Milk Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Setting Spray. I love this setting spray. I use this all the time. This is a really good one and it really does help to like grip your makeup. So I'm making sure I shake it. And I'm actually going to pack a bunch of this top shimmery color onto my 239 brush and then I'll be wetting it. So nice and packed on. And now I'm going to spray it. So I'm gonna try to focus the shimmer where I have some blank space, like where I quite obviously like didn't apply eyeshadow. I applied like a pretty heavy crease. I applied more of an eyeliner look, but I did not touch the actual eyelid. Normally I love applying any shimmer colors with my fingertip, but since the placement of this particular shadow, I want it to be pretty strategic. I just need more control, so that's why I was opting to use a flat brush instead. But normally, in my opinion, I think that shimmers are the most impactful and they look the most gorgeous when you apply them just straight up with your fingertip. This is also a great technique, especially if you're wetting your shimmer eyeshadows. It helps with fallout, so you'll have a lot less fallout when you're applying them. Like meaning that powder eyeshadow is not going to like fall down on top of your freshly applied foundation. It won't be as messy. And then also they're more metallic if you wet them. So now I'm gonna really soak my brush. And I'm gonna dip into this lighter shimmer from the palette. And I'm gonna place this just in the center, the very, very center of my eyelid. So looking straight ahead so I can actually really see where that shadow is gonna land. Now, same brush, it's still very wet. I'm gonna dip into one more shimmer shade in this palette, and I'm just really lightly tucking this on either side of where I have that lightest shimmer. Moving on to mascara, you'll recognize this one if you watched my drugstore makeup tutorial. This is such a great drugstore, old school drugstore mascara. This is the Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara from L'Oreal. I love this mascara. So I'll be doing a good solid coat and I'll be putting false lashes on top. So I'm gonna allow that one coat to dry, and you can see too, just one coat of that mascara, I think it's just such a great formula. It's so good, but I still wanna add some more drama, so I'll be adding some false eyelashes. These are such a beautiful lash, and these are also drugstore lashes. They're from the brand Kiss, and they're the My Lash But Better, which is so genius because they really do look like more natural lashes. Like these could look like if you just had like really great thick full lashes, they don't look super fake. And what is great about them and what I really appreciate the most is the band, which I'll show you, is just, it's totally clear aside from like what you see is the actual like lashes that are bunched up. There's no like thick, obvious plastic band. That's the one thing I don't like about strip lashes is they have these, most of them have like this obvious thick fake band, and it just doesn't look right. So I will be cutting these to fit my lash line. So grabbing the inner part of my lash with my tweezers and then running it along my lash glue. This lash glue is from Ardell. It's just a lash grip. It's a nice basic stronghold eyelash glue. So I'm taking that inner corner, and I like to start in the inner corner and then work my way out on myself. But I will say when I'm doing my clients, I work the opposite way. I don't know why. It just feels better to like start in the inner corner in my eyes. And in case you're wondering if it's hard to apply false eyelashes and be able to show them on camera, it's really hard. It's like deceivingly hard to do for some reason. I just can't get the angle right. I'm gonna grab my lashes, I'm gonna squeeze them into the false ones. Makes it so much more comfortable if you squeeze that outer corner of your false eyelashes. It just kind of like melts them together. Next up, I'll be using one of my favorite concealers. This is the Essential High Coverage Concealer from JOUER in the color Wheat, and I'll be applying this directly under my eye. And if you watch my other tutorials, you know that I love to really line up my concealer along the side of my nose, and that just gives me a nice, natural, contoured effect. I'll still go in with like a powder or a cream to contour my nose, like specifically, but this gives me like almost like a pre-contour. I'm taking a little bit more, I'm gonna do in between my brows, just to brighten and kind of open up that area of my forehead. Just drag this down the center of my nose. It's gonna look really funny for a little bit. And this is, I shouldn't have to mention this, but just in case, this is my concealer, which is why I'm really going ham with using that applicator directly on my face. If this were, you know, a concealer that I use on my clients, of course, I would not be able to freely apply it like this. Now I'll be switching to a very small beauty sponge. This one is from Fenty Beauty. This actually comes in a 2-pack with 2 different sizes. So I'll be taking that small beauty sponge and just tapping in my concealer. And I'm using really light pressure when I'm tapping this in. And I'm tapping it in rather than getting a brush and like blending it back and forth. And again, I talk about this a lot on my channel. For me especially, I want to keep all the coverage I can in terms of like when I'm applying my concealer under my eye. I want to keep all the coverage that I possibly can. I need the coverage in that spot, especially under my eye. Like I talk about how I have dark circles and like darker pigmentation under my eye. So when I'm applying a concealer, I want to keep all that coverage. I don't want to buff it off. So by using this kind of technique where you're pressing it in, you're really keeping that coverage and you're almost locking it down and locking it into the skin. Now before I blend out the rest of this concealer and I set it with powder, I'm going to move on to contour. And using the Fenty Beauty Match Stick in the color Mocha, I'll be applying this to the top of my hand. Instead of having to buff it onto my face, I'm buffing it into my brush. I'm buffing that product that's on my hand into my brush, and then from here, I'm gonna take my brush and start to stamp it onto my skin. And if you end up trying this technique, please leave me a comment and tell me what you think of it. I just think it just makes it so much easier to apply like a cream contour, like a stick like this. It's a game changer. And I should also mention this brush. This is one of my favorites. I've also used this probably a dozen times at this point on my channel. This is from Real Techniques. It's actually a contour brush. It's called a contour brush. This did come in as sets. I don't think they sell it individually, but I know they do still sell this set of face brushes from Real Techniques. But any brush that's like around this size, that's around this kind of density, will do a great job. So it doesn't have to be this brush specifically, but I do think this brush is just such a nice, inexpensive brush. Because I am contouring with this product, but I'm also using it as my bronzer. It's more on the warm side, but I can still get away with using it as a contour. It's just gonna be like a nice natural contour. So really pressing it into my cheekbones. And then blending it back towards my temple. Into my hairline. And then whatever's left over on my brush, I'm just going to gently sweep underneath my jawline. Just to tie it all together. And then switching to a smaller brush, this is just a soft definer brush from JOUER. It's a 227 brush. I'm gonna take whatever's left over on my hand. So just whatever's left over my hand is enough to coat my brush. And then I'm gonna use this to lightly contour my nose. And then grabbing my foundation brush one more time, I'm just gonna go over the areas that I highlighted and contoured. I'm just going to make sure that everything is nice and seamless before I go in and set it. You know, just making sure everything's nice and seamless. Before I set my makeup, I'll be moving on to a cream blush. This one is from my friend's brand, NudeEnvie. She has some beautiful products, and this is one of my favorite colors that she carries. This is the color Peachy, and it's a cream blush. So grabbing the same brush that I used to apply my cream bronzer slash contour, I'll be taking some of this on a small spatula and popping it on top of my hand. Same technique that I showed you earlier with the cream bronzer. I'll be really working that cream blush into my brush. And for the same reason. So that way when I go to actually apply it onto my skin, it's gonna melt on so quick, so easy. You won't have to struggle to really blend it on top of your skin. It will just melt right on top. This color kind of reminds me of when I worked at MAC because it looks a lot like the color Melba and Peaches combined. Like MAC had these two matte powder blushes. They were like staples. They were so popular. And one of them was Melba, and it was like a really pale, light peachy color and it looked just like this. So I know it's gonna look really funky right now because I placed it high up. It's almost like directly under my eye. So I'm gonna go back in with my foundation brush and press it in. And again, just to make sure everything is really melted into each other. And then now, since our blush is applied, I'm gonna go back in with that same little sponge from Fenty that I used to blend my under eye concealer. I'm gonna make sure that no creasing happened in between those processes. So just going in and making sure I buff out any creases under my eye before I set my under eye. Moving on to setting powder. I love this powder so much. I keep this both in my kit and in my professional makeup kit. This is the OneSize Beauty translucent powder. They make two colors, which is great. Both colors are phenomenal to have, but I'll be placing this under my eye and in the T-zone of my face. Using that same mini sponge from Fenty Beauty, I've coated one side of that sponge. I'm gonna bring this pretty heavily along the side of my nose. And in this little inner part of my, I guess like where my smile lines would be. This area, the camera just like picks up shine. Even if you don't have a ton of shine there or you think it's like matte enough, in photographs, it will pick it up and it just takes away some of that like polished look. So applying a little more, like I said. And then I'm gonna take a teeny bit just on the very top of my chin. So I'm not gonna get the sides, I'm not gonna get further down here. I'm not gonna powder anywhere below like basically where my blush is. And the reason for that is because, you know, we don't want to take away that beautiful glow that we added to our skin when we added that beauty oil prior to any of our other makeup. And we don't want to take away the healthy glow that that foundation gave my skin, but we want to control it in some spots. So I'm really like meticulous where I place powder if I want to have a glowy look, but I still want to have like that flawless finish. It's like you want to control certain areas of the face, so that way the areas that do shine and that are glowy, they are able to shine. Like they're not, the focus isn't being taken away by like having an imbalance of like just too much shine all over. So I guess all that to say, balance out where your shine is. You don't want it everywhere. As usual, like my brows were done off camera. I talk about that all the time too. They take me forever to do, and you see me do them. I'll do an updated brow tutorial eventually as well, because, you know, brow styles and brow techniques, they change pretty often, especially for me. I'm always trying new brow products, and I'm always, like, I share them on my Instagram all the time as well. Like, I'm addicted to brow products, so I'll definitely do an updated brow tutorial soon. But for now, they're already on, but I did place just a little bit of that loose powder in my brows just to kind of calm down the shine, because I do have oilier skin and these lights are bright and my brows tend to look really shiny if I don't. So it's another good tip. So now I'm gonna show you guys how to dust off that loose powder. I let it soak in for a little bit, and now just using a small fluffy brush and a tiny, like a little whisper of that same loose powder, I'm gonna use this to blend off and dust off, I should say like dust off where I applied that setting powder. So the side of my nose. So you can see, like, we still have a lot of glow on the top of our forehead. We have it in our cheek. We have it along my jawline. I think that's a beautiful spot to have glow personally, especially when the sun hits you and like you see your profile and it's nice and glowing along your jaw. That's super flattering. That's super beautiful. And my chin is still glowing too. And also the tip of my nose and actually the bridge of my nose is still glowing as well. So it's balanced. So now that my under eye concealer is set, I can move on and continue my eyeshadow onto my bottom lash line, which I love to do. So taking that same 239 brush from MAC, I'm gonna dip into all the same colors except for the shimmers that I originally used on my crease. So that same medium tone matte brown. Love that brush. It's such a great multi-purpose brush. Like it's no wonder why I have like 6 of them in my makeup kit. It's just a great universal brush. So switching back to my 230 pencil brush from JOUER, I'll be dipping back into that darker matte brown shade. I'm just gonna tuck this in the corner of my eye. And I'm gonna grab my mascara one more time, and I'm going to coat my top lashes once more, as well as my bottom. And by doing the top lashes one more time, like once my false lashes are on, it just really ensures that they're gonna be blended together and they're gonna look more seamless, and you won't have any of your lashes falling down underneath the false lashes. So it's a really good technique to make sure you just do one more light coat Now moving on to one of the prettiest things I've bought in a long time. This is such a gorgeous palette. It's the Nude Gasm face palette from Charlotte Tilbury. This is like an all-in-one face palette. It's so pretty, but my only complaint is that there's only one color, like one set of colors that you can buy. And you know, although that's, you know, this is obviously, it's gorgeous, right? And it's going to work with a ton of different skin tones, but it's not going to work with everyone. So it's a little disappointing, if I can just say, like, it's disappointed that they didn't just knock out another deeper shade one, but maybe eventually they will, who knows? But anyway, I will be using this to highlight and also to like set my contour and add a little more depth to my contour. So taking a small blending brush, this again is from the Morphe Makeup by L'Oreal collection. And I'll be taking that beautiful gleaming highlight. Like this highlighter is just ridiculously pretty. And I'll be taking this on the very top of my nose, like the bridge of my nose. And then I'm gonna just sweep it along the very top of my forehead. And then on the side of my chin. The reason why I say the side of my chin and not like on the very top of my chin is because that's where I place powder on the top of my chin, but I like the sides to glow. And not to keep boring you with this, but just about like balance. So like I don't want a completely shiny chin, but I want some parts to shine and look really pretty and glowy. Grabbing another brush from the Morphe collection with Makeup by L'Oreal. You can find all these brushes in a set. It's actually a really good deal. I think I got like, it's like 8 or 10. I think it's like 10 brushes for around $100, which is not bad because they're great, great quality brushes. Anyway, I'll be using this to dip into the deepest bronzer shade. And then grabbing another pencil brush, same brand. This is from Zoeva as well. It's a 230 Luxe pencil brush. This one is clean. I'll be dipping into that same deeper bronzer shade. And I'm gonna mix just a little bit of this lighter, very cool toned sculpting shade. So I'm gonna do one of my favorite tricks, which is pre-contouring my lips and just enhancing them and making them look a little bit bigger before I go in with my lip liner and lipstick. So this little pocket right here, I'm really filling in. And I actually learned this years ago. Like when I was a teenager, my sister, I'll never forget, she used to get lip liner, and my sister was into makeup before I was ever into makeup. She used to buy like really expensive makeup because she had a job and I didn't at the time because I was younger than her. Anyways, she would always fill in her Cupid's bow. Like she would go straight across her Cupid's bow and fill in this little pocket with a lip liner. And it made her top lip look huge. And I never forgot it. And then years later, I became a professional makeup artist and I saw like JLo's makeup artist. He was known for like doing this kind of like lip contouring effect. And it brought me back to like when I was a teenager and I realized my sister used to do that way back in the day. And it's just such, anyway, all I have to say, it's a really great trick. Like whether you're using a lip liner to do this or you're using a contour shade or a contour powder, if you want your top lip to have that like perky little like lift up, you're basically like faking it until you make it. Like it just creates this beautiful little lift up. It can be very subtle, like depending on how much product you use, but it's honestly one of my favorite techniques and it has stuck with me my entire life. Before I move on from this stunning palette, I'm gonna grab that same fluffy brush that I used earlier to apply some loose powder. But I'm using this and I'm going to dip into that peachier toned. This could be like either a blush depending on your skin tone, or it could be a beautiful highlighter depending on your skin tone. I'll be using this to enhance my blush. And I'm gonna take a little bit of what's left over. I'm just gonna sweep it across the bridge of my nose. Moving on, I'll be finishing up my lip. I'll be using one of my favorite lip liners ever. This is such a beautiful color. It's so pretty. I finally bought myself one. I've had one in my kit for years, and I finally decided to like treat myself and buy myself this color as well. This is the Iconic Nude lip liner from Charlotte Tilbury. If you haven't tried this, I highly suggest you go out and get it. And the great thing about that technique that I showed you earlier with the contour powder is I don't have to like work super hard to create a lip shape and to enhance my lips, you know, which is what I want to do. I always want to enhance my lips. So I can just go in and apply without having to like think too much about it. I mean, I'll still take this liner at the very edge of my lip line because, you know, I can always handle a little more lip. Moving on to lipstick, I'll be using the Nude Romance from Charlotte Tilbury. This is not my personal lipstick, this is in my kit, so I'm just gonna scrape off just a little bit. And to make this lipstick a little more on the nude side, I'm gonna cocktail it with such an old school, super, super old school. Like if you were a fan of MAC makeup, you'll definitely remember the lip gloss or lip glass see-through. This was like, you wore this with stripped down lip liner, Myth lipstick, and you put see-through lip glass on top, and that was like it, you know, like that was like the lip combo. I'm gonna take a little bit, I'm gonna take a little bit of this on my spatula with my brush. And of course, it's gonna add more shine because it is a lip gloss. So that's the finished look. This is my copper eyes with glowy skin. I love this kind of makeup look. If you do too, be sure to check out the rest of my tutorials on my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.